August 2nd, 2020 was a historic day for Guyana and its people. The President, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali-led government was sworn into office. This was after 5 agonizing months of suffering following attempts by the APNU plus AFC to steal the elections. During those 5 months, fear and anxiety gripped the nation. No budget was presented for consent, no borrowing was authorized, and no spending approved. In defiance of the law and the rulings of the highest courts of the land, the previous administration arrogated power onto itself, spending the taxpayers' money with no authority and no legitimacy.
Guyana witnessed an attempt to steal presidential and regional elections that delayed the declaration of a credible result for 5 long and agonizing months. Democracy was delayed and almost denied. It was only the vigilance of the Guyanese people, supported by a watchful international community, that prevented Guyana from being plunged into a dictatorship with all its disastrous consequences. This is why the government of Guyana is fully committed to strengthening the foundations and pillars of democracy to ensure that at all times in the future, the will of the electorate is upheld in free, fair, and transparent elections, and that the independence of the judiciary is maintained. We are aware that adherence to democracy and the rule of law must be aligned with economic and social progress in conditions of non-discrimination, equity, and equal opportunities. This is the course on which Guyana is now firmly embarked domestically.
Following up on a promise, President Ali on June 16th announced that a commission of inquiry into the March 2nd, 2020 general and regional elections would be launched.
So I'd say to all those who struggled and sacrificed, all those who worked in protecting the democracy that we have, in your honor, before dawn on Tuesday, your president will name the members of that international COI. And those who subverted democracy, and those who cannot present their SOPs, and those who struggled against the will of the people, the COI will set the truth free from the untruth. And the COI will set those who dwell in the house of democracy against those who dwell in the fire of undemocratic rule.
President Ali on Tuesday, June 21st, in a statement, announced the members of the International Commission of Inquiry, COI, into the March 2nd, 2020 general and regional elections. The members include Chairman of the Commission, retired Justice of Appeal Stanley John, former Attorney General and High Court Judge, and Acting Justice of Appeal in the Eastern Caribbean. Godfrey P. Smith, SC, former Chair and Chief Elections Commissioner of India, Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, and former Chancellor Acting 𝐘𝐄𝐀. When the PPPC government took office, the country was gripped with the COVID-19 pandemic, which had already infected hundreds of Guyanese. There were inadequate supplies and protective gear for medical personnel. Even the facilities were ill-equipped to deal with the magnitude of infections. The health sector was in shambles. To combat the inherited state of disrepair, the government immediately set out to put measures in place to save the economy. According to the Caribbean Regional Stability Financial Report 2020, several policy responses were applied immediately, such as VAT removal from utilities and cell phones. Other fiscal policy measures include substantial IMF increases on Guyana's allocation of special drawing rights N2. Deferrals on repayments on credit facilities, loans, credit cards, etc. were applied.
We did some assessments when we came into office, and we found that in a lot of our health posts, health centers, when patients come, they didn't have a place to stay, like waiting areas. And even if they're waiting, if there's some rudimentary waiting area, if they want to use the washroom, there wasn't adequate washrooms and so forth. So we have decided that in all the regions, we are going to improve these facilities for patients. So if someone comes to any one of the facility and they have to wait a little bit, they would be able to do so in relative comfort.
The country, during the tenure of the APNU plus AFC, suffered economically. In the period before the pandemic, the anti-development taxation policy resulted in job loss in almost every sector.
Emerging out of a situation where we had to fight to maintain our freedom because there was a huge threat against democratic order in this country. And had we not won that fight, there would have been a major setback for Guyana, because development is strongly correlated to freedom. And if we don't live in a free country, then we'd never be able to realize the full potential of this land. The period before the pandemic, because of the taxation policy of the last government, we lost in almost every sector, in mining, in the forestry sector, in the sugar industry. Many people were laid off. And so we lost about 35,000 jobs before the COVID pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit and the country was shut down, we lost another maybe 35,000, 40,000 jobs. So we started in government with a deficit about 80,000 jobs.
Now, Guyana, under the leadership of President Ali, is on the cusp of massive socio-economic transformation that is taking it to new heights of prosperity for all under the One Guyana banner. 2 years on, and we are witnessing the rapid expansion of our physical infrastructure as the administration aims to improve connectivity with neighboring countries and trading partners, open up new lands to unleash productive potential, and improve internal connectivity to enhance citizen and commuter convenience. Expanded access to vast productive lands for agricultural and other productive purposes, and the creation of opportunities for new investors and developers are ongoing. Government is also investing in the energy sector, building new generation capacity. There is massive transformation taking place in the health, education, and social sectors, with other major projects on the cards that will realize the administration's vision of building a modern, multi-dimensional economy. In this two-part documentary, we will highlight what the government has been doing since August 2nd, 2020 to realize its promise and to advance the plans for prosperity that seeks to create a brighter and better future for all Guyanese. The PPPC in its manifesto outlines its vision that every Guyanese must have a chance for a good education, access to good-paying jobs, be able to start their own businesses, raise and provide for a family, own their own homes, live in a safe and secure environment, and retire with dignity. Full access to quality healthcare, safe water, be able to participate in sports and recreation, and freely practice their religion and culture are assured. The government believes that hard work and sacrifice, bolstered by an economy strengthened by the oil and gas sector, will guarantee the next generation of Guyanese a brighter and better future. And the administration has embarked on attaining just that. Citizens across the length and breadth of Guyana have begun to reap the tremendous benefits of improved infrastructure that have enhanced accessibility and created safer environments. A prime example is the construction of the $5 billion Eccles to Diamond Interlink Road on the east bank of Demerara. The project is easing traffic congestion and has also opened new lands for housing and commercial development. The road forms part of a larger project that will create links to several parts of the coast and will offer significant relief to thousands of commuters. This includes the road that will be constructed from Ogle on the east coast to Eccles and from Diamond to Tamari. It is in keeping with a promise made by President Ali, which is benefiting thousands. The road was officially commissioned by President Ali on December 20th, 2021. The $2.6 billion Mandela Avenue to Eccles Highway is another undertaking accomplished by the PPPC administration to enrich the lives of Guyanese. President Ali, speaking at the commissioning of the road, said it is the believing attitude and immense sacrifices of his government that enabled the massive success of the four-lane thoroughfare that is now part of the East Bank Demerara alternate road link.
I guarantee you, with every drop of blood in my system and this government system, we will get it done with those who are ready to come on board and work and push so that Guyana, not section of Guyana, so Guyana will be uplifted.
Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell said the execution of the project clearly illustrates the emergence of a new Guyana, noting that expanding the road network has always been a priority of the administration. Also, the US $106.4 million contract with Indian company Ashoka Buildcon Limited to begin the first phase of the highly anticipated Ogle to Eccles road link was signed on June 24th. The massive undertaking is being generously supported by a concessional line of credit through the India Exim Bank.
What we are witnessing today is the result of visionary leadership. I urge you to keep your eyes keenly focused on the agenda for transformation, because you will see roads and bridges, hospitals and schools, industrial estates. You will see not only public investment but private investment.
The construction of the new road will not only see the administration further accomplishing its infrastructural agenda, but make way for major transformation in the agriculture, housing, and oil and gas sectors. Government has also made significant strides in the construction of the $38 billion road link from Linden to Mabora. The historic contract to commence the construction of the road was signed on May 20th in Linden, Region 10. The transformational project, which is being undertaken by a Brazilian company, has been in the works for decades. As Minister within the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh explained during the event. The Dr. Ali-led administration has and continues to invest billions of dollars on rehabilitating miscellaneous and hinterland roads. Dr. Ali is very passionate about the housing sector. His vision extends way beyond just providing a piece of land to Guyanese. Instead, the President and his cabinet are working to ensure that families at all income levels have access to safe, decent, and affordable housing. Government has embarked on a number of initiatives that form part of its National Housing Program, which aims to provide 50,000 house lots by 2025 through land allocations and the construction of homes for low, middle, and moderate income families, as well as young professionals. More than 11,000 house lots have been allocated under the flagship Dream Realize Housing Drive. Work began on more than 1,200 housing units across regions 3, 4, 6, and 10. More than 300 homes were completed and handed over to families for occupation to date. The remaining houses are at various stages and are slated for completion during the course of 2022. Land identification and acquisition were also made for the first phase of Silica City. The Silica City Development Project is a brainchild of President Ali, who had proposed the city's establishment while serving as housing minister in 2013. The idea was based on the need for Guyana to have an urban center that is complementary to the existing capital city of Georgetown. Some 3,800 acres of land have been identified for immediate development of the new Silica City in the vicinity of the Susdijk-Temeri area. The project aims to tackle the issue of non-coastal urban settlement development and the challenges of climate change and sea level rise. It will therefore see the creation of a vibrant, sustainable, resilient, and modern city, and this vision is in keeping with the Low Carbon Development Strategy, the LCDS.
The smart city is proposed for creating a new city that will compact and will have pedestrian-oriented, energy-efficient, interconnected and sustainable, comfortable, attractive and secure environment. It is envisaged, Mr. Speaker, that over the next 20 years, the projected population for this new city will be approximately 50,000 occupants or over 12,500 households. Therefore, within this first 5 years, it is expected that this city would be developed to cater for at least 3,125 households, approximately 625 units annually.
Additionally, in excess of 3,500 transport and titles have been distributed. The administration continues its relentless efforts to provide affordable housing solutions. Testimony to this is the implementation of the Home Construction Assistance Program. Back in April, Vice President Dr. Barrett Jagdeo, during a meeting at Dundee Maikoni, disclosed that the government was exploring the program, which will see persons who are financially unable to construct their homes but have available plots of land being provided with assistance by the administration. Then on May 16th, President Ali made the official announcement that the program would be launched. He had said that the government recognizes that many persons, although they have a house lot, encounter challenges managing home construction. The initiative, the head of state pointed out, is open to persons with both government-allocated and privately owned house lots and is in keeping with the administration's home ownership drive.
Persons who have a house lot and wish to receive government help to construct a home on that lot may register their interest with a unit that will be establishing soon for this purpose. At the time of registration, the applicant will also select the preference from among 3 standard pre-designed models at a cost of $7 million, $9 million, and $12 million. Government will also undertake the construction of home on behalf of the applicant and deliver to the applicant a complete home in accordance with the option selected. We expect that this measure will help to drastically accelerate the capacity of Guyanese families to own and occupy their own home.
Government also removed the value-added tax on additional construction materials, another move to make home construction affordable for Guyanese. This year, $12.4 billion was allocated for continued infrastructural development works in housing schemes, including the upgrading of 45.5 kilometers of roads in 31 existing housing areas across regions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10. Major development works. The design and construction of 2 major highways, easing traffic congestion on the east bank of Demerara Corridor. Mocha to Diamond Bypass Road completed. Mandela Avenue to Eccles 4-lane concrete highway completed. Construction of Eccles to Great Diamond 4-lane concrete in progress. The President Ali-led government, since its assumption to office in August 2020, has been working on a plan that will see improved access to healthcare, as well as the infrastructural transformation of medical facilities countrywide. For this year, $73.2 billion has been budgeted for the sector. Of that amount, $16.1 billion was allocated to launch a major expansion in public healthcare facilities.
We are doing a lot of work in the health sector, and one of the things that we want to look at is the content of what we deliver to the population. As you know, we have different layers in the health sector. So if you think about the community, we have health posts, especially in very rural communities, because they're so far away. You need to have some health presence in these communities. We also have health centers. That's the next level. We have district hospitals, regional hospitals, and then of course our referral hospital. So a lot of our primary healthcare work is done by the health posts, the health centers. To some extent, we have also a lot of primary care work being done at district hospitals and at our regional hospitals, especially with our outpatient clinics. But the content of what we deliver has been very limited, and a lot of our healthcare workers have not been trained to deliver some of the things that we think are necessary in these communities.
Through the Ministry of Health, the government is looking at innovative ways in which healthcare delivery can be revolutionized, ways in which those in remote or far-flung areas can receive the same level of care as persons on the coast. One way is through telemedicine.
One of the innovations that we are working on, which we want to start this year, is to use telemedicine. So imagine in one of our remote villages where they only had access to a community healthcare worker. That worker can only deliver a very, very basic package of service, but they're maybe 50, 60 miles away from a health center or a hospital. So that basic service, while it helps, it's not enough. And we believe if we do telemedicine that we'll be able to change that. So what we envisage can happen with telemedicine, we'll of course provide the internet connectivity. So if they have phone services, that's going to be very easy. We can utilize the existing service. If they don't, we'll have to put in a satellite connection where we can connect the health center. Now that healthcare worker would be trained to use a special laptop computer that would have an EMR system, an electronic medical record system. So when the patient comes in, they're able to talk to the patient, record the patient's details, their name and age and the patient's history and so forth. And then an interesting thing happens. The community health worker is then able to dial up a doctor that can be in Georgetown or in any part of the country. They dial up that doctor then would see the patient on screen and then conduct an interview. And if there's a need to do any specialized tests, so for example, the doctor would like to hear the heartbeat of the patient, so he would then instruct the community health worker to put the stethoscope at the appropriate places on the patient, and he would be able to hear the sound 400, 500 miles away. Because with the laptop, we'll have a set of tools, so stethoscopes, cameras, ultrasound, and so forth, that would all be connected to this laptop. So these are a set of internet-enabled devices. So we'll be able to listen to the sounds, see images, as if the patient is before you. And I think that would help to change how we do medicine tremendously. So we want to pilot that, and we're hoping that pilot, we can start that this year. And once the pilots work properly, or how we envisage it, that would then, we'll then start implementing this across the country, especially in those remote areas. And therefore, over the next couple of years, we'll see a transformation of care. So in the remote areas, it's not just having access to a community healthcare worker or a nurse, but you would also have access to a medical doctor. And I think that would help to change the quality of care that we are offering.
Guyana is benefiting from the Smart Healthcare Facilities in the Caribbean project, which is being funded by the United Kingdom Department for International Development at a cost of $835 million. That's $4.175 million US. Under this project, 5 institutions were identified for upgrading. These include the Diamond, Lenora, Mabaruma, Lethem, and Paramakatoy hospitals. The Diamond and Lethem hospitals have already been upgraded to smart facilities. The smart hospital concept refers to a health facility which provides standard and efficient health care while at the same time being climate resilient. During its first year in office, the PPPC government made significant efforts to ensure opportunities for development were available to all Guyanese. The Ministry of Education, in particular, took a number of steps to ensure that the population remained educated even amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The PPPC had promised to award 20,000 scholarships during its first term in office. This figure has now been revised upwards as the government calls on more persons, regardless of age, to pursue their studies in the various fields. Last year, the government awarded 6,000 gold scholarships to Guyanese. The sum of $1.3 billion was approved for gold in Budget 2022. In addition, thousands of university courses were also made available to Guyanese through the Coursera program. Over 55,000 citizens, including more than 8,000 teachers, benefited from a myriad of certifiable courses from internationally recognized institutions. With the government's aim to modernize and create a digital-friendly learning environment, a number of smart classrooms were commissioned in various secondary schools. The ministry was also able to provide 1,053 technological inputs to students and teachers, first starting with the underprivileged. As a complement to the smart classrooms, the President Ali-led government allocated $200 million for the expansion of the Guyana Learning Channel. The Guyana Learning Channel also launched a WizKid platform, a game show, which is geared at preparing students for the National Grade 6 assessment. This program was expanded to reach over 100 Amerindian communities last year. To further technological advancement, over $65 million in ICT equipment was also given to TVET institutions for online learning. A key promise of the government was the restoration of the Because We Care cash grant to students. This initiative was reintroduced and improved. The $3.2 billion invested by the government benefited a whopping 175,000 students nationwide. Not to be left out, the government spent $320 million more to provide at least 17,000 children attending private schools with the $19,000 cash grant. This year, the grants have increased by more than 50%, as each child will get $30,000. The Because We Care cash grant has increased from $15,000 to $25,000, while the school uniform and supplies grant has raised from $4,000 to $5,000.
Those changes will see significant output, better output, and less coming out of the pockets of families. And if we're going to do this together, the ministry, the government, parents and schools and teachers and students, then surely we should be able to see better results.
With focus on providing equitable access to quality education, the government has budgeted $74.4 billion for the country's education sector. This caters for reforming the school curriculum, expanding teachers' training, constructing of new schools, and establishing robust systems, among others. Agriculture is a major export earner for Guyana, and the government views it as important for the diversification of the economy. The government is continuing with its efforts of reviving sugar production and is making investments in rice and other crops like corn and soybean. Agriculture development is a priority and provides incentives through the Guyana Office for Investment. The country's proximity to the United States and access to CARICOM markets makes it an ideal investment destination for agriculture. Guyana's endowment of large arable land and favorable climatic conditions provides opportunities for investors. President Ali had said that the growing relationship between Guyana and Barbados is aimed at ensuring that both countries prosper economically. This, the president added, is evident by the expanded Black Belly Sheep initiative between the two countries that will see land in Guyana being allocated to selective groups in Guyana and youths from Barbados to boost production. The Guyanese head of state was speaking during the opening ceremony of Barbados AgroFest 2022, hosted in May under the theme, Greening Together, a Caribbean Thing.
We are setting aside 50 acres of land to be owned by young people as part of the Black Belly Sheep project in Guyana. 50 acres to be owned by persons with disability. 50 acres to be owned by single parent women. And importantly, 50 acres that will be owned by your young people here in Barbados.
The Black Belly Sheep initiative, launched in March, was expanded with the government announcing that 50 acres of land would be set aside to be owned by young people as part of the project in Guyana. President Ali noted that the model that Barbados and Guyana are building can be replicated for success across the entire region to create a win-win scenario.
We have already agreed with Barbados that Guyana and Barbados would do a joint project to supply the Barbados market strictly from Guyana to start with.
That is a market with a value of 6.8 billion United States dollars. We have right within our arm's reach a market that can generate a value of 48 million United States dollars. And who supply CARICOM right now? Australia and New Zealand. With the cost of freight and logistics cost increases, it is becoming more and more expensive. That is why this is a low-hanging fruit. CARICOM is right within our arm reach. And this is the first target market.
In part 2 of this documentary, we will examine the strides made in the energy sector, social interventions and other developments as the PPPC administration charts the way forward for Guyana's social and economic advancement.